Uh, but with all that said, I thought my biggest takeaway just generally of watching like the Jimmy experience was just like if someone like Kevin Durant or Kyrie is like propping up their guys, even though they know that they're not necessarily like the best players for that specific role, like I think that stuff means a lot. Like that's why the Lakers stuff is honestly shocking to me because LeBron is like the CEO of worst body language I've ever seen of like a superstar with his teammates. Like he
Hmm.
basically like is constantly putting them in only positions to lose because if Kuzma or Danny Green doesn't hit the shot, LeBron is like uh, shaking his head and has his hands on his face. So
And and
and that's where the culture stuff I think does matter. That's why like Nash was on teams where he was dealing with like a lot of different egos and a lot of different stars, and he got it to work. It wasn't a title, but he got it to work. Like Marks is obviously also trying to do that, and he's also from an institution with the Spurs where like you know how to where you got to know how to do that. So I just think that's like the big. I just think that's the big thing that they got to realize is like whatever the roster ends up being, and you know they're going to have massive input into it, but like whatever it ends up being, just like go with it. Like don't like I don't like I think they can play GM a little bit in terms of telling Marks like during the year, hey we need this, hey we need that, but like the constant like putting people down and stuff like that is just not conducive to winning, especially when the league like as the overall like thesis of this podcast is like the league is open. Like I think that there's no reason they couldn't win the championship next year.
I I I don't want to sound delusional, okay? Because I understand that there's a major hurdle. Like, you know, everyone on the organization has to be smarter than the players, right? They have to placate the players, they have to make the players feel good about what they're doing. But at the same time, you have to understand two things if you're going to get the best out of Kyrie these next few years. One, you have to understand he's injury prone. He, you know, that one thing about, running the first day and the running the first day in the interview, like, what a coach is going to ask me to run the first day. That has a lot to do with his body not being his body isn't where it needs to be, and he knows it, and he knows it's fragile. And I think that's also where that feeds into that whole concept of him wanting better players around him, and we're going to talk about that. And it also feeds into the concept of him not wanting to practice very hard. Um, I think he trains hard. I think that's built into who Kyrie is as a person. Um, but I also don't think I don't think um, he can actually do the rigorous things anymore because his body is so injured. So, that another one of the things that Kyrie believes in is veganism, and because no one can tell him anything, and because he believes that dogma, he's not giving his body the right nutrition for him to be able to take it. So the Nets have to be aware that he's going to be hurt and he's going to have bad ideas. So they have to protect him and protect themselves from that. And one of the bad ideas is that he doesn't have to play defense. Last year, I saw him in one game in particular where he grabbed Rodions and he threw Rodions into the right position. Now, we know Rodions is all the time not in the right position. the so I don't know if I necessarily blame him for throwing Rodions into the right position, but I do think that his reaction, or how one man shows another man, or leads another man, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't have been where he grabbed the guy and threw him into his right position, because Kyrie's defense is bad in itself. You know what I mean? Like, and so Sean Marks has to go into this next season understanding that the reason why it worked with Kyrie and LeBron was because Tristan Thompson was behind him. Um, uh, Kevin Love was behind him, and at time it was a litany of centers that would play, but they would put defenders and shooters around Kyrie. Shooters we have Joe Harris, we have that element, we have that counterpoint of I guess that kid's name is Duncan on the Heat. We've got our version of that, right? The floor spacer who's gonna hit a big three, who's gonna keep defensives honest. We have those pieces. What we don't have is the Tristan Thompsons, is the Kevin Loves, the guys who are gonna rebound, do the dirty work that allows Kyrie to be the best version of himself. So I don't know. Do you think Sean Marks understands what he needs to build a legendary team? He has the two parts, right? 50% of it is having enough core assets that when you add the superstars, you don't have to add much more. Or you can use the core assets to go out and get the final piece that you need to be super dominant. Or he has to add that right fundamental piece. And watching these playoffs, I've seen a player that I think would fit so beautifully on the Nets. I just don't see how they would get him. Who do you think I'm talking about, Sam?
You saw him in the playoffs?
Yes.
Because that definitely narrows it down a little bit.
On the West, I'll give you the West.
You give me the West. Give me like 10 seconds to figure this out. I originally thought you were going to say Ibaka.
Nope.
And I know it can't be Aaron Gordon if we're doing the West.
Nope.
I'm not sure who it is.
Once I say it, it's just going to hit you like a ton of bricks, and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, of course. Jeremy Grant.
Oh, yeah. He's just a totally winning player.
You give the Nets Jeremy Grant, a guy that can guard power forwards and small forwards, who can shoot it from the outside, who's going to do all of